Hello everybody. We have a game with the white pieces against X Center. Rated 1441. He goes into the never mind. He creates this check perk small center. And because he plays passively, I like to launch the pawn up to f4 because it's not so dangerous when your opponent's so poorly developed. So, meaning it's not so dangerous to your own king, right? When he doesn't have any pieces out. So this guy's doing this ridiculous thing which people are going to do to you. And I'm actually going to stay focused on this section of the board, assuming he's going to castle that way. So let me just bring my bishop out and see what he does. Okay, he pushes the f pawn. He's creating contact when he's not developed and his king's in the center. This probably cannot benefit him. All three responses, taking, ignoring, and pushing, should be fine for you. I'm going to open up the position. You could have gained space, which I normally do. But seeing as he has exactly 0 pieces developed, I'm going to castle, so I have 2 minors out, and I'm castled. He hasn't even started. That's why I open up the position. He develops his bishop and aims this way. Fine. Okay. This rook move, I mean, it looks like it's the most active. It looks like it controls more squares than any other move I can make. So I do that one. He puts the knight here, which develops but blocks the bishop, which allows knight g5 ideas on the weakened e6 point because he moved the f pawn. So if I go here, I'm already threatening to hop in. How does he stop that? King f7? He can't even go there. Yeah, this is kind of bad. So instead of just developing my knight or my bishop, which kind of don't really do anything, I feel like creating this threat. Checks, captures, threats. I mean, if I go here and he just kicks it, and then I jump here, he can give up his bishop. I get my rook in. Then he castles. Queen e2 threatens the bishop. He moves his rook over, defending the bishop. Maybe that's not the best. Maybe it's not, the right time. Maybe I need one more attacker. Like if my bishop was here, but that doesn't work because of d5. Queen e2 potentially also prevents castling and can be an extra attacker. So maybe I'll start with Queen e2 and just double reinforce the e-file, the most squares I'm controlling. Now this prevents castling in an alternate way, as opposed to creating a fork. Or winning the bishop pair, I guess. Here you're threatening to win a piece, so it's definitely not a thing if he castles. If he just makes a random developing move, he's not addressing his issues. But how do you address your issues? You move the f-pawn, which permanently weakens this light square complex around your king. And I already have so much pressure down the e-file because I opened the position with better development. So you could see how even though when I took the pawn and said, oh, I'm going to open the position, like there was nothing there. You weren't winning anything. It didn't look like some obvious follow-up. But just overall, slowly, your leading development will build up until you can win, let's say, a pawn or something. So he goes knight d5, which undefends this queen h5 square. Undefends the center. Doesn't even threaten anything except maybe to look at the bishop one day, which is weird. It does look at this though. I think that's his idea, is to stop knight g5 from coming. However, the bishop's pinned. So knight g5 still comes. Also, it defends this, but that doesn't work because c4, if he ever castles, I'll win a piece or a pawn with bishop h7 because he's hitting it. I'm talking mostly in my head, like I'm not really showing anything I'm saying, but you need to try to follow in your head. You could start by kicking it, but then he hunts your bishop. So let's go with the much more scary looking knight g5. And you could say it's not so scary because he could just trade. True. And he could lift his queen, offer queen trade. True. True. But he castles. Queen h5 is the first thing that comes to mind. c4 is the second thing that comes to mind. So he castles into a checkmate in one threat, which he could defend by retreating. Then I could pick up the light square bishop, but my queen's hit, so not really. If I go c4 first, then he hunts my bishop, then queen h5. He no longer has knight f6 resource. He's kind of, let's say h6. Queen g6, he takes the pawn, I take. Something should definitely work, for sure, in a position like this. If we go here, we're threatening the fork, forcing this. Then this check, he moves away. Then we can kick the knight. Knight goes somewhere. This bishop's hanging, but our bishop's hanging. If we start with c4, well, that's annoying. Also, one other option, maybe bishop c4, just pinning the knight, threatening to win this. And then if he defends it, I get to mess up his structure, but free his knight. It's weird. I'm going to go for this. I mean, I want this as an attacking piece, but he could just take the knight. Although, yeah, I'm going to just try to get his light square bishop. I mean, it's his light squares in the center that are weak, namely the square I just jumped into, e6. So if I can get rid of his bishop, even if there's nothing here right now, in the long run, I'll be able to use that square for the rest of the game, and he won't have a bishop. So for example, 10 moves from now, if I manage to get my other knight around here, he won't have another light square bishop to take it with. Of course, he has other knights or pieces, but I'll also still have my light square bishop, which can be an attacker in the future. He can also try to trade it, but right now he has more serious issues facing him. He'll likely take, and we get to capture with check. He's quite lucky his knight's defended, or we would take it. After the check, his f5 pawn is hanging. For example, bishop takes. But it opens up his rook. But it opens up the line towards his king. It's a little speculative because your f4 pawns becomes loose. But who knows? Maybe we kick the knight first. So let's see. Takes, takes, king over. We kick the knight, knight to the side. Okay, now the knight's hitting our bishop and the c2 square. Bishop takes pawn, protects the c2 square. His knight can't do anything. Maybe he'll offer, he can't even offer a queen trade. Maybe he'll attack the queen or something. But then the dark square bishop's hanging behind it. Yeah, so this is winning, right? Because after, it's just overloaded, right? It's overloaded somehow. So this immediately hangs the bishop. But if takes, 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 then it's not so beneficial. But if after here you throw in the pawn capture, then his bishop's still hanging, and you're attacking the king. And if he leaves that construction one more turn, you even have a3 getting the knight here, and then you can attack his king. So this should be winning. It's so weird how some 1400s last a lot longer than others. I mean, this is bad from him from the start, but then they hold on for dear life. It's like they get themselves into a nearly losing position and then they do their best not to lose. What kind of strategy is that? So he hits the queen first, maybe trying to disconnect this, which is interesting. But I think the fundamental issue remains, and now when I move my queen, I get to defend my bishop. Maybe this opens up more lines, but for the time being, maybe this is the only square. So let's do it. Now this pawn's not hanging, but I didn't really want to take it anyway because that opens his rook, and I don't want to open his rook. Okay, so now his knight is hit. If he goes here, I cannot save my bishop. But now takes. The difference is he moved his rook to f6. So if he takes my bishop, I checkmate him. That line wasn't available before where I was taking the pawn. So he moves his knight back. This covers the infiltration square, covers the back rank, but doesn't pressure my bishop, meaning it's not a forcing or critical variation, and I think his bishop just hangs. So now the game is officially over. From, dubious pawn moves in the opening to black slightly getting dominated in the middle game, slightly, not crazily, but enough, to losing a piece. Because we control the center, and the point of controlling these squares is to deny these squares from the minor pieces of your opponent. So he moves the queen. We don't have the back rank mate because of the knight. Or do we? We take the knight. He takes, then we go check. And we win. Just double checking. Free knight. You always have to look for tactics. And you may not want to look at queen takes knight because it just looks like a ridiculous move hanging the queen. But it wins you the game. And the only reason is because I even considered looking at that ridiculous move that I found it. If you're not considering to look at ridiculous moves, you can never find them. So he moves his queen. Now we're up 2 bishops. And this knight is stuck. So he would lose even more if I take that pawn. Do we have better? He might resign because we have control over the file. He's staring at nothing. He loses a 3rd minor piece in a row. This is extremely demoralizing, more so than us completing development. So he tries some stabilizing, but we'll just pick up all the free stuff. We'll pick up this beautiful outpost in the center for our queen. This hits so many squares on their side that it's just too strong. Okay, he goes for trades, which don't matter in either direction. Of course, we're not even close to finishing development, but here, we'll start now. If he wants to trade, he'll have to allow us to put our bishop on f2, which permanently safeguards our king. So he goes this way. Okay, but now we can just connect our rooks for real. And I mean, look at our position. It doesn't get better than this. Up 11 points of material. Black has no hopes, and now because he did this, he can't avoid trades, which I'm going to initiate next. I didn't initiate it before because I couldn't recapture with my rook. Okay, so he moves to the side, but let's get in some trades. And now let's hit the queen, which has to stay tethered to the rook. Okay, he goes there, and you can win any way you want. Choice is yours. Inch your way closer. Take the pawn, take the knight. Doesn't really matter. He hits the queen, you pin it. He can't avoid a trade, and I mean, this is super clever. Check this out. I didn't learn about it. I mean, obviously you can find these tactics, but I just watched the introduction to a chessable course that came out today from Maurice Ashley. He has like a chess geometry thing, and he was showing an example in the intro video of four rooks, and the opponent couldn't take either of your rooks. This is just like this. Whichever way he takes, he would have lost, but instead of four rooks, it's the two queens. And I just saw that this morning. It's funny, so I applied it right here. So now I should go back to the game because I have 40 seconds. He moved his king. And because I don't have any time, because I was telling a story, I'm just going to force all the trades. Oh, well, I guess he can take this way, but... Okay, let's bring in some pieces. And then let's win in 30 seconds. If we can get that rook off the board, that would be helpful. Oh, he just covered it. As soon as I spotted it, there was a thing where you take and takes, and the back rank was the issue, but he just made space. Tactics are always, always there. Tactics are everywhere. And if you want to go from 1400 to 1700, get better at tactics. You probably already know like some opening junk. And at the end of the day, no matter how much opening stuff you have, you're gonna have to play chess like relatively soon after the first 5 moves yourself. So okay, he's just going all over the place. I was gonna force the trade, but maybe we can checkmate him. Actually, even with 20 seconds. So bishop takes, king h7. Of course, whatever. I'll give it to him. It forces everything off the board. I get to walk my little pawn up the board while he comes to terms with his lost position. I'm just going to get the bishop out of the way of the queen. I knew he would try that just so I don't go here, but he has another pawn, so it's not stalemate. Now you could go here and checkmate him, but a cooler checkmate is the pre-move g3. So your bishop's defended. Pawn checkmate. So we make it in time. Considering how he started the game, he fought very well. I mean, this is junk. Don't do this. The good thing about it is it's very solid in the sense that I also cannot approach these pawns with my minor pieces, right? Because you're keeping them side by side. But it's much better to have them side by side, more advanced, right? Because then they control more space. Because, okay, so I can't put my pieces here, let's say. And let's say because I have pawns here, you also can't put pieces there. Fine. So you could say that's equal, but I get to put my pieces on the squares behind this third row, but you don't have that. Your behind is the second row, and it's getting awfully cramped. That's the difference. So, okay, what do we got? Wow, it said they played with 91% accuracy. Impressive. We have 98%, but we should have a lot higher than them, so that makes sense. But 91's not bad at all for a 1400, playing a much stronger opponent. In any case, we develop and center, and from this moment, right, we didn't do anything. Pawns and develop. We're +1. So already positionally, it's saying that because of how he started, you're going to win a pawn at some point because you're better. So that's kind of what it means, and that's really good. He pushes, which makes it plus 1.5. And of course, you have many, many options. Pushing is like a lot of automatic response, but then he can push and you have more space, but because everything's locked, your lead in development doesn't really matter anymore. But you do have more space. You could slowly boa constrict the guy. Um, Fine. C4, gaining more space, castling, ignoring. You could take queen e2. Like, you could do whatever you want. So we turn the lines off. We take, and he takes. Still plus one. We castle, and now we're aiming at his king. Clearly white's better. Okay, improve a piece. And now we're improving another piece and prophylaxis. He cannot castle. Already it says white is plus 0.2. I mean, plus 2.0. So basically winning almost up a piece, even though I'm not up anything. Because this pressure against the king, when you learn chess and they're showing you examples of why you need to get the king castle, they show stuff like this, where you're just pinned down the center and you never get the opportunity to try to, get the message home to you. Now, what's the best move here? Okay. Just keep switching. Recognize my genius. At first, knight g4 wasn't on the list. I mean, knight g5, and now it finally is. It keeps moving up. I recognize. Okay, so basically, all four are essentially the same, with knight c3 having a little edge, trying to dislodge his only piece in the center, threatening to win the bishop, right? It's similar to c4 in that way. You're threatening to win the bishop behind it and remove the defender. If you go c4, however, he does go to the side, and the unfortunate thing is your bishop's hanging. Also, his isn't hanging because he didn't castle yet. But we go knight g5, which I think is very clever. If he plays h6, queen h5 is a possibility. Also, knight e6 is completely winning. I was looking at knight e6, but they're both completely winning. So he castles. And again, I was looking at this move, bishop c4. I was not looking at knight c3 ever, which is kind of funny. It does make a lot of sense, though, to remove the defender. For some reason, my brain just kept looking at c4 as the concept to remove the defender as opposed to the knight. In any case, I didn't do any of those. I maintained our advantage with knight into the center, forcing the trade. Wait, that's not his best move? No, it is his best move. Okay. I was going to say, what? Check. He goes away. It says +2. So we're up one pawn, but +2. Because our queen is on this weak point. If his pawn was back here, he wouldn't have this weakness at all. But he'd have a different set of problems, and that's the h7 square, which I would try to attack on the light squares. So now, now and only now do we play c4. And now and only now is it the correct time to play it, because in all the other positions, he always had some weird moves, some tactics, some counterblow, and c4 would kind of just ruin your entire position. Here is the only time, and it's the only move to maintain a really strong advantage, which is what we were talking about during the whole video, is to eventually kick it. He tries to throw in this cheeky intermezzo. I expected the best move to the side, which is what it was, but then I calculated I can take this pawn. So I could have done that, but he didn't go there. So now we go back, and again, I thought he might go to the side, but it's +4, so totally lost either way. I was going to hunt the bishop, and I was saying that down in this line, he can't, well, let's say he trades. He can't take my bishop because of the checkmate threat, so it just doesn't work out for him. So he goes back, but it's +5. Free stuff, free stuff. Literally 3 minor pieces in 4 moves. 3 minor pieces in 4 moves because of tactics and thinking outside the box. How many of you would take this bishop, and then when he moves his queen, you would look at the back rank, of course, look at the rook, oh, it's defended, but you would never even consider to take this knight. It wouldn't be something that pops into your candidate moves list, right? But what I was like is, okay, I did start with the back rank like you guys would, and then I said, oh wait, his back rank is defended this way. but the rook's not here. So can I deflect somehow? And you can deflect. Even if this wasn't a knight, like even if the knight wasn't here, let's say it doesn't exist, it's off the board. I would then have been like, oh, queen takes b7, deflecting the queen to get the mate. So it's not about the knight. I was looking for just a way to get my rook to the back rank, and so that's how you connect the dots. So that's just free stuff, and then, I mean, my position is clearly amazing, so that was a really good game. Shows you how to slowly take advantage of those ridiculous pawn pushes and why they're bad, how they long term give your opponent good lead in development. Good luck in your chess and goodbye.